Every single time you rip open a Velcro strap on a shoe, a jacket, or a blood pressure cuff, you are using a design copied directly from a plant that most American gardeners spend their summer trying to destroy. That plant produces round, prickly burrs that cling to clothing, fur, and skin with an almost stubborn persistence. In 1941, one specific set of those burrs annoyed a Swiss engineer so badly that he invented one of the most successful fasteners in modern history. In Japan, the root of that same plant has been a dinner table staple for over 1,000 years. And in the United States, that plant is listed as a noxious weed in multiple states, pulled out of gardens and pastures on site. Same plant, 3 completely different reputations. This is the story of Burdock, and why nobody ever puts these 3 facts in the same room. Burdock, scientifically known as Arctium lapa, is a tall, coarse plant with big heart-shaped leaves and a deep, sturdy taproot. In its second year, it sends up purple thistle-like flowers that dry into round, spiky seed heads covered in tiny, hooked bristles. Those bristles are built for exactly one job: grabbing onto any passing fur or fabric so the plant's seeds can hitch a ride somewhere new. It is an incredibly effective system. It is also the entire reason this story exists, because in 1941, that hitchhiking trick landed on the wrong engineer's pants. George de Mestral was a Swiss electrical engineer who liked to spend his weekends hiking and hunting in the Alps with his dog. After one particular walk through the countryside, he came home covered in burrs, and so did his dog. Instead of just picking them off and moving on, de Mestral got curious. He put one of the burrs under a microscope and saw something most people never bother to look for: hundreds of tiny hooks covering the surface of each burr, each one catching onto the small loops in fabric or fur. He reportedly thought, if a plant could design a fastener this effective by accident, why couldn't a person design one on purpose? It took him roughly a decade of experimentation, mostly with a French weaver's help, to figure out how to manufacture tiny nylon hooks and loops at scale. He patented the result in the mid-1950s and named it Velcro, a combination of the French words velours and crochet, meaning velvet and hook. Today, Velcro brand fasteners are used everywhere from children's shoes to spacesuits, and the entire idea traces back to one annoyed engineer picking a weed off his dog. While European engineers were still decades away from even noticing those hooks, an ocean away in Japan, an entirely different relationship with this plant had already been in place for well over 1,000 years. Burdock root, called Gobo in Japanese, was introduced from China during the Heian period, originally valued as a medicinal herb before it became one of the most common root vegetables in Japanese home cooking. Walk into almost any Japanese grocery store today and you will find long, dark-skinned gobo roots sold right next to carrots and daikon. Sliced thin and stir-fried with soy sauce and sesame oil into a dish called kimpira gobo. It is a staple side dish found in home kitchens and lunchboxes across the country. Nutritionally, gobo earns that reputation. The root is low in calories, but unusually rich in a type of fiber called inulin, which by some measurements makes up somewhere between 27 and 45% of the root's dry weight. Inulin is a prebiotic fiber, meaning it feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut rather than being digested directly by your body, and it has become a popular ingredient in Western wellness products for exactly that reason. Gobo also contains meaningful amounts of potassium, magnesium, and iron. In traditional Chinese medicine, an older European herbal practice, the root was used for centuries as what herbalists called a blood purifier, applied to skin conditions inflammation, and infections, long before anyone had identified inulin or understood what a prebiotic even was. So by the time this plant reached American shores, it was already carrying two entirely different reputations: a clever fastener waiting to be discovered in Europe, and a respected food and medicine already established in Asia. What happened when it crossed the Atlantic tells a very different story. Burdock arrived in North America sometime in the 1600s, most likely brought over by European colonists either on purpose, for its established medicinal and culinary uses, or completely by accident. Its seeds hitching a ride the exact same way they were designed to, caught in animal fur, packed into contaminated feed, or snagged on clothing. There is a strange irony sitting right there. The plant that eventually inspired one of the most useful adhesive technologies in modern history spread across an entire continent, using that exact same hook and loop mechanism, only nobody had a name for it yet. Once established in American soil, burdock did what it does everywhere. It thrived in disturbed ground, pastures, fence lines, and roadsides. And that is exactly where the trouble started. Today, burdock is officially classified as a noxious or invasive weed in multiple states in the United States, including Colorado, South Dakota, and Wyoming, along with several counties in Montana, and it appears on similar watch lists across parts of Canada. Agricultural extension offices actively recommend removing it, and the reasons go beyond it, simply crowding out grass in a pasture. Here is the detail that turns this from a quirky fact into something considerably stranger. Those same burrs that impressed a Swiss engineer under a microscope are strong enough to genuinely injure animals. Burdock burrs can mat so thickly into the fur and manes of horses, sheep, and dogs that they sometimes have to be cut out entirely, and in a detail that surprises almost everyone who hears it. Small songbirds and even bats have been documented getting physically trapped and killed after flying into dense clusters of burdock burrs, unable to free their feathers or wings from the hooks once they made contact. The exact mechanical brilliance that built a multi-billion-dollar fastener industry is the same mechanical brilliance that occasionally turns a roadside plant into a genuine hazard for small wildlife. So look at where that leaves the plant. In Switzerland, its hooks earned a patent and a place in engineering history. In Japan, its root has fed families for over a millennium and shows up on wellness shelves today because of its fiber content. In the United States, extension offices publish removal guides and warn farmers to keep it away from livestock. Nobody changed the plant. The burrs still work exactly the way they always have. What changed entirely is which part of the plant each culture decided to pay attention to, and what that culture already had a use for. There is actually a fourth twist worth knowing if you want to see this plant differently the next time you find it growing at the edge of your own yard. The young stalks and roots of American burdock are edible, using almost the exact same preparation as Japanese gobo. And foragers who know what they are looking for treat it as a legitimate, free vegetable, rather than a nuisance to spray. It requires some care, correct identification, and harvesting the root in its first year before the plant turns woody. But the exact ingredient sold in Japanese grocery stores for a premium price is very likely growing wild along a fence line near you right now. So the next time you fasten a Velcro strap without thinking twice about it, remember that the tiny hooks doing that job were copied from a plant currently listed as a pest control problem in half a dozen American states, a plant Japan has been quietly cooking into dinner for over 1,000 years. It never asked to be useful in 3 completely different ways. It just kept doing what it has always done. and it was up to us to decide whether that made it an invention, a meal, or a menace. If stories like this change the way you look at the plants growing right outside your own door, subscribe for more histories of the everyday things we were taught to overlook.